And so I silently willed him to start taking the hormones as soon as medical sign-off would allow, a biting form of closure. What the fuck? You should not be processing this in public, my girl. Phoebe. You should not be processing this in public like this. There has been so much going on Twitter right now, especially because for like, oh no, do you take off like a couple extra days in between stream because you have a part-time job right now? Like, yeah, well, guess what? There's going to be like 800 million things to talk about when you get ready to start looking at what the news is like right now. So amongst all the other things that have happened over the past week, this article dropped on Saturday, October 8th, and it's called, I thought my boyfriend of 10 years was going to propose, and then he told me he was trans. So just right out the gate, I'm pretty sure that this article is the title, and then throughout the article going to misgender the partner. So like, it's by this person called Phoebe McDowell. Like, just putting your actual name on this article, as far as I can tell, where you are working through your feelings about your partner coming out in public. Obviously, this is very difficult to deal with. I will reserve comment for now about whether I think that this is an appropriate venue upon which to do this, because we have to actually read the article, right? We have to actually figure out what was said and, you know, not just assume based on what we hear on Twitter, right? That's a goal. So I consider myself an LGBTQ ally, but I wasn't prepared for the shock and confusion I'd feel when the person I thought I'd spend my life with told me their secret. This is the young lady. Oh wow, that's a terrible quote under the picture here. It says, watching those closest to me celebrate the erosion of the person I loved was crushing. Ooh, strap in lads, it's gonna be a long night. It was 3 a.m. and I'd had a lot to drink. 2 reasons why I was pressing my boyfriend of 10 years on why he hadn't yet proposed. Yeah, it's gonna just misgender this person the whole time. Here we go. We were strong and happy, loved each other madly, so his reticence seemed ludicrous to me when sober, let alone drunk. I suspect it was my ceaseless questioning that ultimately blew a fuse in his brain, because that's when he told me his secret. Wow. Drama. Yeah, erosion, there had to have been a better word. Yeah. Oh, God. When I woke up, he was gone. I watched his WhatsApp status like it was the heart monitor of an ailing relative. The second I saw online, I called and asked him to come home to talk, to answer the questions that I'd scribbled illegibly on a half-folded piece of A4 paper. This is going to be narrativized, I guess, for a bit here. Maybe the entire thing? Wow, do we want to read the whole thing in a dramatized manner? We're going to start skimming at some point. We're going to have to start skimming at some point along here. Boyfriend came back, face masked with fear. What were you trying to tell me? I asked, hopefully, all too aware of how different things can look when alcohol is no longer shaping your every thought. I have gender identity issues, he blurted, eyes fixed on the floor. That seems really clunky. Like, I don't want to say that this is a Poe right off the bat here, but that's a weird way to phrase it, and I don't know that any real, actual human being with, quote, gender identity issues, I don't think any person who actually suffers from gender identity issues would put it that way. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Is that strange to anyone else, or is that just me? Okay, let's move on. I just don't identify with being male. That I could hear that being more understandable. My throat thickened. You got yoked all of a sudden. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I'm not trying to make fun. I should stop trying to be funny. I knew this person better than anyone in the world, but could in no way reconcile him with the words coming out of his mouth. She panicked. Oh my God. What do you identify with? Pleading. I don't know, like non-binary or trans. The word flooded my body with a surreal disbelief. Why? I don't know. Anyway, oh wow. And then she gets really fucking rude all of a sudden, apparently. She says, I was already sure, cold and emphatic. This was done. We were done. But why? Asked the partner. Because I don't want to be with a woman. It was surprising to me how obvious this fact was because everything else was suddenly underwater. I mean, yes, you can feel that way. I feel like you should be kind about delivering that news because it is a vulnerable moment for your partner to tell them. It's not like the partner is not aware that, like, you pressured them into talking to you about something while they were drunk. It's not like your partner is not aware that you might break up with them because of the fact that they are trans. Like, listen, I came out. I mean, like, I was out. Like, I knew that there was gender weirdness when my partner and I started dating. I did not know that I was going to want to medically transition in any way. And we had to work through that, you know? Like, I already am freaked out about the idea of being dumped explicitly for a cisgender person. But, like, if it had actually happened to me, that I was dumped because I came out as trans and, like, realized I needed to medically transition, that would have fucked me up. Like, more so than I am already fucked up about the idea of potentially being dumped for a cis person. It's a very specific anxiety. Anyway, so I understand that feeling, but yeah, you should try to be empathetic in this moment. Partner says, I don't know how far it will go yet. I don't know anything yet, except that our relationship is more important than my gender. Oh, no. Girl, no. Girl. No. Honey. No. Girl. No. God. Trying to figure out where we're going from here. The curtains closed at every turn in my mind. Soon, my sister was outside. I tried to articulate to her why I had asked her to come collect me and why I had a suitcase. She knew that something was wrong. She's struggling to communicate with her sibling and then says he thinks he might be trans. We stood on the dark street, cobbles glossed with rain, and wept. Her tears soaked my shoulder, and mine hers. We drove back to hers. I sat in silence, numb, watching the rain blur the brake lights in front of me while she continued to sob. For me, for him, and I guess for the future brother-in-law she'd just lost. People just have absolutely no concept of what it's like to live miserable as a trans person. Hit like on the video if you know what it's like to worry about losing your family and in the process of coming out as trans and realizing that, you know, that is a legit fear to have. You are going to lose people, realistically, unless your entire family is really fucking cool. Says then she stays over with her sister for a week. She's not sleeping. Got a new therapist, a large woman with a kind face whose accent I couldn't decipher. She talks about, I guess, her boyfriend having female traits, like so sympathetic when he was on my period. He would practically sprint to the shop to buy me ibuprofen or tampons. Is that because he wished he was having periods? And then, oh, that's nice. I guess her therapist is a smart person. If he was jealous of you, it would have manifested in anger, not kindness. He was kind to you because he loved you and didn't like seeing you in pain. I realize now that I was focusing on the trivial in order to avoid the stark truth, that the person around whom my world revolved was disappearing, and I was just stuck here waiting for them to go. God, the person that you love does not, like, didn't exist in the first place. Like, that was a person that they were trying to pretend to be, you know, and it wasn't working very well. And now they're trying to trust you with who they really are. And you are basically, like, freaking out and rejecting them and making it about you and your feelings. And while I understand that you have complicated feelings, it's kind of inappropriate at this time to be like, how could you do this to me? Like, do you realize how it's like when you feel suicidal? You're like, I know that if I go through this, even though my pain is so great that I really would rather be dead, like, that people are going to say that I was selfish. Like, how, like, because obviously this decision is going to affect other people, but I shouldn't have to think about that while I'm in the middle of dealing with problems that are so overwhelming that it's making me suicidal. You know what I mean? Yeah, Nuvenol points out, you're not losing a future son-in-law. If your daughter comes out as lesbian, that future son-in-law never existed. That's not a perfect analogy, but it's pretty close. I just see it as a real person emerging. Yeah, I agree. So let's keep looking at this a little bit. All at once, gender was all around me, screaming in my face, forms asking me about my sex. How many times had he dared himself to tick something other than male? Wow, you are a crazy person. Like, listen, again, I want to be sympathetic to the situation that she's going through. But, like, I am also going to point out when, like, again, it's like you're airing all of this very publicly. Like, you're really airing out some very personal and, like, potentially problematic stuff. Like, you know, the obsessive way that this person is responding, like, every time I had to fill out a form asking if I was male, female, or something else, I thought, oh, how many times had he dared himself to tick something other than male? Like, I don't, like, maybe it's just that the tone is not coming across right, but this is really weird. Every time I used a public loo, I wondered if he wanted to use the women's. I wonder if this is going to swing into turf territory. I wonder if it's going to swing out. This trans widow horse shit drives me nuts. Go fuck yourself, article writer. Yeah, Phoebe. No, I'm kidding. Okay, let's see. You're being obsessive about it. Oh no. I surveyed women everywhere as if every fifth person might be trans. It's like she's like looking for the trans in public now. I really almost dropped the slur and I decided not to. Is this lady British? I think she is British. She said the loo. There's been a couple other phrasings that made it seem like she is also, yeah, she is also from the UK. It says up here on the political stage, the UK government being rightly condemned for failing to ban conversion therapy. So probably. Packing up my stuff, we vacillated between sorrow that our relationship was over and hope that we'd never let each other go. Not platonically, anyway. When I stayed over, we clambered into bed early, head to head, our legs entangled, his skin warming mine. Couldn't read his mood. His angular face seemed soft, the ridge of his brow less pronounced, his skin free from stubble. In the morning, there came a point where we both knew that we were going to kiss, and then we had sex. Okay, so are they staying together? I thought you'd still love me, but I didn't think you'd be able to see me like that again. In the sexual way, I guess. But she's still thinking of him as male. Or her... I'm misgendering her partner just as much as she is, because the fucking article is written that way and I don't want to have to autocorrect every time while I'm just trying to read it out loud. Her partner says, it's like anytime you're putting barriers up in your own life, you're just limiting yourself. Oh wait, hold on, wait. Oh wait, there's this Harry Styles. Harry Styles said this. There's so much joy to be had in playing with clothes. Okay, androgynous dressing. Suddenly, oh god, by the time I'd mentally reduced the situation to an ideal of androgynous dressing, forsaking our bond suddenly seemed like madness. This is 2022. Love is love. And if Harry Styles says it's okay, then it's O-fucking-K. I didn't fall in love with a trans woman. I fell in love with a person who happens to feel like their body is a burden, who just wants to be a little more femme. Oh no. Hormones. He mentioned hormones with an earth-shattering nonchalance, saying he'd wait a year to see how he felt about the superficial stuff like clothes, and then make a decision about hormones. Oh no. I read that estrogen can make a man infertile in as little as 6 months. 6 months. 6 months. Can you believe it? Completely infertile after 6 months. No specification about what the dose is or anything like that. Like what dose? Could you be on like a teeny tiny dose of estrogen and lose your testicles in 6 months? They'll just fall right off. Completely infertile. The testicles, they just fall right off. Like when fruit is ripe and the tree's like... Jesus. Oh god, I had desperately wanted his child, though the impulse was quickly supplanted by a surge of uninspired rage. What? If I can't have his baby, then no one should be able to. And so I silently willed him to start taking the hormones as soon as medical sign-off would allow, a biting form of closure. What the fuck? You should not be processing this in public, my girl. Phoebe? Phoebe. Phoebe? Phoebe. 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 You should not be processing this in public like this. This is weird. This is so deeply fucking weird, y'all. I ate some soy and my balls exploded. True story. True. Is she a TERF? Like, she said some weird shit, but I don't know if I can conclusively say whether she's a TERF. Phoebe, yeah, Phoebe sweetie, Phoebe honey. It's possible that her partner is still using he/him pronouns, but she should have specified if she didn't want to look like a jerk. But if that was a concern of hers, she wouldn't have published this. Amen. Shield Dayton. Amen. You may lose your testicles with my Heisenberg estrogen. Oh my god. Okay. Jesus. Man, this was confusing. Yeah, I bet. Handsome boy is gone. Whatever. Blah, blah, blah. And now I felt exposed. I was doing everything differently, sheepishly. Meanwhile, it felt like he was on a rocket ship to the moon. Try sitting at home with only antidepressants for company while your ex is at a dinner party with your best friends extolling the virtues of full coverage foundation. Then try hearing that the male contingent put makeup on too. And not only that, but they skipped down to the nail salon with him the next day. Blue, he got blue nails, plus a set of new they-them pronouns. So is the boyfriend using they-them, or is the ex now using they-them pronouns? Yeah, estrogen sends you to the moon. It sends you straight to the moon. All trans people on estrogen are astronauts. I was mad at those who professed to get it because they too had been through a breakup. I have dived into a swimming pool, but that does not make me Tom Daly. I knew it came from a good place, but please, no. It's absolutely not the same. I don't want it to deny anyone their own suffering, and I know that there's some commonality in the heartbreak and the loss, but not the shame, not the guilt or the incredulity. What is wrong with you, Phoebe? I reached out to a support group called Straight Partners Anonymous. Oh, we have a growing number of, quote, trans widows who will very much identify with your difficult situation and the issues it raises. Was not that keen on the new label. Okay, well, at least you have some awareness, Phoebe. I agreed to meet someone else in possession of it regardless. Then the reversing beep of regret, because as it happened, she and her partner had decided to stay together, and I felt ashamed all over again because I couldn't do that. I kept trying to understand. Well, that's good. People would ask, were there any signs when she was talking about the situation? I'm getting bored with this, and I'm like, is there, like, I want to know, is she a TERF? Okay, here we are. We're at the fucking conclusion now. 7 months on, I am proud of my ex for having the courage to utter the words and the conviction to follow them through, crop tops and all. There are many things they will never understand about my experience, but there are far more I will never understand about theirs. Okay. It was so hard to fucking figure out where you were going with this, lady. The image of them at the dinner party that night, high on the fumes of their authentic self, no longer sucks the breath from my lungs. And now I am confident that in the not-too-distant future we will sit at a table together and reminisce about our imperfect, profuse, and untamed love, and raise a glass to the fact that they've never been happier. Okay. So I guess in conclusion, they're friends, and it's okay. Like, but the main processing part, like, it took a while to read this whole goddamn thing, okay? It would have been good if there was some indication earlier in the article that it was going to get better at some point, you know? Because it took her until the very end to be like, oh, by the way, we're friends and I'm proud of my ex and I'm using the correct pronoun now. So I heard that the ex signed off on this article. I heard that the ex was like, sure, yeah, I'll let you post this, and that's good. And that makes sense because of where it landed. I would still personally be bothered by the narrativization and like the pronouns, whatever. But you know, that title implies a very different tone will occur. Yeah, she did have some decency after all. But way to bury the lead. Like, I thought my boyfriend of 10 years was going to propose, and then he told me he was trans. Really, it's like you bullied your boyfriend into disclosing something that he wasn't ready to talk about yet. Yeah. So I don't have a lot else to add about that. That was a lot. Thank you so much to all of my supporters, especially my patrons, and especially these ones. We have Tiago Nascimento, Mersh Rolvag, Brandon, Jovian F. Gaudreau, Bean, Heather Clarkson, Amanda B., R. Halverson, Michelle Winter, Athiette, Sarah A., Decoy Duck, Wellington Marcus, Suzanne Maynard, Nova, Sojo, Mr. Atheist, and Elizabeth Bartell.